Saturday afternoon. A Chicago grocery store packed with noise and tired faces. A man stood at register 7. Plain jacket. Simple groceries, rice, beans, oil, bread. His hands patted his pockets. Once. Twice. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I think I forgot my wallet." The woman behind him erupted. The manager rushed over. Every eye in that store landed on him. Some judged. Some looked away. And then the cashier, a young woman making minimum wage, working 2 jobs, skipping meals so her little brother could eat, reached in her own apron pocket. She pulled out a crumpled $20 bill, her only money until payday, and she paid for his groceries. The man looked at her, and what he did next made the whole store fall completely silent. "My name is Marcus Cole. I am the founder and CEO of Cole Technologies. And this is the story of the $23.47 that changed my life forever." If this story is pulling at your heart, subscribe right now and hit the bell so you never miss what happens next. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Marcus Cole was not a man who needed a room to know he had entered it. At 53, he had built Cole Technologies from a rented desk in his Chicago apartment into one of the most respected software companies in the Midwest, worth $3.1 billion in valuation, with clients in 40 countries. His platform managed logistics systems for hospitals, ports, and city governments across North America. His name sat on the boards of 2 universities and a foundation that had funded over 200 schools in West Africa. But you would never know it looking at him. Marcus drove himself, carried his own groceries, wore clothes until they were comfortable, not until they were fashionable. He owned one watch, a simple silver one his mother had given him the year he graduated from a community college in Evanston. He wore it every day. It cost $40. "Money is not a costume," his father, Daniel Cole, used to say. Daniel had worked the overnight shift at a bottling plant in Gary, Indiana for 31 years, never missing a day, never complaining, never spending a single dollar he had not earned with his hands. A man who needs everyone to see his wealth has nothing else to offer. Marcus had grown up watching his father live that truth. He had carried it into every boardroom, every negotiation, every quiet morning when he sat alone and asked himself if he was still the same man his parents had raised. He was, mostly. But there was one corner of his life where the armor had cracks, a place where all the success and discipline and forward motion could not fill what was missing. Marcus Cole was deeply, quietly lonely, not the kind of lonely that shows up at parties, the kind that is loudest at 11 p.m. in a beautiful house on the North Shore when the only sounds are the hum of the refrigerator and the distant noise of traffic. The kind that makes a man of 53 stare at the ceiling and wonder if the life he built was worth the life he missed. He had come close. 3 times. 3 women who had seemed, at first, to see the man before the money. And 3 times, the truth had surfaced, sharp as glass and twice as cold. The first had left during a difficult financial quarter when Cole Technologies was hemorrhaging cash and Marcus was sleeping 3 hours a night. She called it a pause. It became an ending. When the company recovered and his net worth tripled, she came back. He thanked her kindly and said no. The second had lasted 2 years. She was warm, attentive, the kind of woman who remembered small things, the way he liked his coffee, the name of his childhood dog. Then Marcus discovered she had been wiring money to a former partner through a nonprofit account she had quietly set up, nearly $300,000. When confronted, she said, simply, "You would have never noticed if you were paying more attention to me." The third was perhaps the most difficult because she had seemed most real. A physician, calm, principled, funny in a dry way that Marcus had found irresistible. Then his attorney called to alert him that a woman matching her description had approached a law firm about drafting a prenuptial agreement before Marcus had ever proposed. The document included a $40 million exit clause. She was planning the ending before the beginning had even started. After that, Marcus stopped trying. He told himself he had made peace with it. He had Sam, his longtime assistant and the closest thing to a confidant he trusted, and his foundation work and the quiet satisfaction of building something that mattered. That was enough. It was not enough. Then his mother called from Gary. Rose Cole was 79 years old, and she had the voice of a woman who had never once wasted a word. She called on a Tuesday evening while Marcus was reviewing quarterly reports. He picked up on the second ring, always. Rose was the only person in the world who got that. "Marcus," she said, "I had a dream about you." He set the reports down. "What kind of dream, Mama?" "You were standing in a restaurant. A beautiful one, crystal glasses, white tablecloths, the kind of place where the food comes in tiny portions and costs a fortune. And you were starving, just standing there, surrounded by all of it, and starving. Because everything on the table looked perfect, but none of it was real food." Marcus was quiet. "You've been looking in the wrong places," she said simply. "Looking where people perform. You need to look where people just live." "And where is that, Mama?" "Plain places. Ordinary places. The kind of places where nobody is trying to impress anyone." A pause. "Love doesn't dress up, Marcus. It shows up. There's a difference." He sat with that for 3 days. On the fourth day, he had a plan. It was simple, almost embarrassingly simple. He would go to an ordinary place, a neighborhood grocery store, nothing fancy, in ordinary clothes with no wallet, no cards, no phone except the slim one in the hidden pocket of his jacket. He would buy basic things, and when he couldn't pay, he would see what happened. Not who recognized him, who helped him. Sam, his assistant, heard the plan and stared at Marcus for a long moment. "You want to pretend to be broke in a grocery store? I want to see who people are when they think no one important is watching. And if someone recognizes you?" Marcus smiled. Nobody looks twice at a middle-aged man in a wrinkled jacket buying rice and beans. Sam sighed deeply. "Which store?" "Corner Fresh on South Michigan Avenue. Regular neighborhood. Regular people. And what do? Wait in the parking lot. Don't interfere. No matter what happens." Sam looked at him the way he always did when Marcus made a decision that was both completely logical and slightly unhinged. Then he nodded. "If you get asked to leave, I'm not coming in until you call me twice." Marcus laughed, a real one. The first in a while. Saturday morning, he stood in front of his closet and chose the clothes he wore for yard work. Dark khakis, a faded gray button-down, a tan jacket with a small tear at the left elbow. Comfortable shoes that had been resoled twice. He looked in the mirror. An ordinary man. Nobody special. He walked out of his $4.2 million home and into the rest of his life. Corner Fresh on South Michigan Avenue was exactly the kind of store Chicago neighborhoods are built around. Not a boutique. Not a chain with a smoothie bar and valet parking. Just a grocery store, fluorescent lights, slightly sticky floors near the produce section, a hand-painted sign in the window advertising weekly specials, and a row of checkout registers staffed by people who had been there long enough to remember your name if you came in twice. Marcus grabbed a basket and walked the aisles slowly. He chose what his mother would have chosen: a bag of white rice, dry black beans, a bottle of vegetable oil, a loaf of bread, a few onions, 2 tomatoes. Simple things. Real things. He went to Register 7, and that's where he met both of them. The 2 women who would, in different ways, teach him everything. The first was already behind him in line. Her name was Brenda Wells, though Marcus would not learn that until later. She was dressed expensively, a silk blouse, designer handbag, heels that cost more than Marcus's entire outfit multiplied by 20. She had the particular energy of someone who treated public spaces like an inconvenience she was too important to experience. She tapped Marcus on the shoulder before he had even set his basket down. "Excuse me? The express lane is over there. This line is for people actually buying things." Marcus glanced at his basket. 6 items. "I think this line is fine. Some of us have places to be," she said, the word places landing like a declaration of superiority. Marcus said nothing. He turned back around. Brenda huffed. Checked her phone. Huffed again. Then her phone rang, and she answered it. On speaker, full volume, in the middle of the store. "Girl, you would not believe where I am right now. Standing in line at this little store because my usual place is closed. The people in here, Dana." She paused. Marcus felt her eyes on his back. "There's this man in front of me. Looks like he just rolled out of a garage sale. Taking forever." The other shoppers shifted uncomfortably. A grandfather 2 spots back shook his head. A woman with a toddler on her hip looked at the floor. Everyone heard. No one said anything. And then Marcus reached the front of the line. And he looked up. Her name tag read, Zara O. She was 27. Slim, dark skin the color of deep river water at dusk. Natural hair kept close and neat. No earrings, no rings, just a thin gold chain with a small cross at the throat. She had the kind of face that didn't announce itself. Quiet eyes, a mouth that smiled easily, like it had decided a long time ago that warmth was worth the effort. Good afternoon, sir. Her voice was steady, calm, genuine. None of the flat politeness of someone counting down the hours. Good afternoon, Marcus said. She began scanning his items. Cooking something good tonight? My mother's recipe. Bean stew the way she learned it in Nigeria. Oh, Nigerian? I love that. My grandmother used to say that food made with patience tastes different. You can tell. She's right, Marcus said. Zara smiled and finished scanning. Your total is $23.47, sir. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket, then his pants pocket, then back to his jacket. His face changed, a careful, practiced expression of confusion and then quiet embarrassment. I think I left my wallet at home, he said. I'm so sorry. I don't have any cash. Behind him, Brenda Wells exploded. Oh, you gotta be kidding me right now. Brenda's voice cut through the store the way a fire alarm does. Impossible to ignore, designed to make everyone stop. Some of us have been standing in this line for 15 minutes, and you don't have money? You don't have money. She turned to the other shoppers, arms spread wide. Can you believe this? This man comes in here looking like that, and doesn't even have a card, a dollar, nothing. What is this, a food pantry? Marcus kept his expression neutral. The embarrassment he let show was real, not because the situation was real, but because the cruelty was. The store manager, a thin man named Gerald who moved through difficult moments the way people move through cold water, reluctantly but quickly, arrived at the register. Sir, if you're unable to pay, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside so we can keep the line moving. Marcus nodded. Of course. I'm sorry for the trouble. He reached for his basket. I'll pay for it. Everyone turned. Zara was already reaching into the front pocket of her apron. She pulled out a folded $20 bill and a small collection of coins, dimes, nickels, a few quarters. Her lunch money. The only cash she had on her until Friday. Zara, Gerald said, store policy doesn't allow. It's not the store's money, she said, quietly and completely. It's mine. She unfolded the 20 on the counter, counted out $3.47 in coins, slid it all into the register. Then she began bagging Marcus's groceries with the same calm efficiency she brought to everything. The store went quiet. Not the quiet of nothing happening. The quiet of everyone realizing something. Because every person in that line, Brenda with her designer bag, Gerald with his store protocol, the grandfather, the mother with the toddler, the teenager on his phone, had all seen a man struggle, and not one of them had moved. Except her, the woman making minimum wage. The woman who had worked since 6 a.m. The woman who had just given away the only money she had until Friday. She did it without calculation, without hesitation, without looking around to see if anyone was watching. Brenda broke the silence the way she broke most silences, badly. Well, that was your money to waste, I guess. Some of us aren't that naive. Zara did not respond to her. She finished bagging and handed the groceries to Marcus. Here you go, sir. You have a good evening. Marcus looked at her. He had been tested by women who wanted everything from him. Now he was standing in front of a woman who had just given everything she had. Why did you do that? He asked quietly. You were short. I had enough. It's not complicated. That was your lunch money. She shrugged, and it was the most honest shrug he had ever seen. I've skipped lunch before. I'll be okay. Besides, she touched the cross at her throat briefly. My grandmother always said the hand that gives is the hand that receives. I believe that. Marcus's throat tightened. He blinked once hard, picked up his bags, walked to the door. Then he stopped, turned around, and walked back to Register 7. Every eye in Corner Fresh followed Marcus Cole as he walked back through the store. Brenda rolled her eyes. Oh, what now? Marcus set his grocery bags on the counter. He looked at Zara. Then he looked up at the security camera mounted above Register 7. Then he reached into the inside lining of his jacket, a hidden pocket that had no business existing in a coat from a discount rack, and pulled out a phone. Not just any phone, a matte black device that cost more than 3 months of Zara's salary. He pressed one button. Sam, bring the car to the front entrance. Bring the card. 40 seconds later, a black Cadillac CT6 pulled silently to the store entrance. Sam stepped out in a tailored navy suit, carrying a slim leather portfolio, and walked through the automatic doors with the ease of someone who had done this in lobbies far more impressive. The store did not move. Marcus accepted the portfolio from Sam, opened it, and placed a card on the counter in front of Zara. My name is Marcus Cole. I am the founder and CEO of Cole Technologies. Silence. We build software systems that run logistics for hospitals, port authorities, and municipal governments across 40 countries. My company is valued at $3.1 billion. I own the commercial property this shopping center sits on. I own the parking lot. I own the office building across the street. Gerald, the manager, had stopped breathing. Brenda's designer bag slipped off her shoulder, and she didn't notice. I came here today without my wallet on purpose, Marcus said. I wanted to see what would happen when an ordinary man couldn't pay for rice and beans. I wanted to see who would judge and who would help. He turned to Brenda. You judged. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. He turned to the other shoppers. You watched. Several people looked at the floor. He turned back to Zara. And you, his voice dropped just slightly, you gave me everything you had, without asking my name, without knowing mine, just because I was a person who needed help. Zara's hands were trembling slightly. Her quiet eyes had gone wide. My mother told me I would know real love when someone gave me something they couldn't afford to lose, Marcus said, and they did it without being asked. He paused. You gave me your lunch money, Zara, the only money you had for 4 days. Someone in the back of the line started to clap. The grandfather. Slow, steady applause that meant something. Then the mother with the toddler. Then Gerald. Then the teenager. Then, one by one, every person in corner fresh grocery store stood and applauded. In the middle of a Tuesday afternoon, between the checkout lanes and the candy displays. Zara covered her mouth with both hands. Tears were streaming. She was shaking her head slowly, the way people do when something is too large to process, standing still. Brenda Wells stood at the center of it all, completely still, the color gone from her face. The camera was already on. Someone's phone had been recording for 4 minutes. 22 million people would see this video. But Marcus Cole was only looking at one person. After the store cleared, Marcus had asked Zara one question. Can I take you for coffee? I'd like to hear your story. She had looked at him with those calm, unhurried eyes. I can't today. I have my second job in 90 minutes. Second job? I clean an office building downtown. 6 floors. 3 nights a week. Marcus had been quiet for a moment. When are you free? Thursday, I think. Maybe. Thursday. You name the place. She thought about it. There's a place on 35th called Mama's Cup. Nothing fancy. The coffee's good, and the owner lets you stay as long as you need. Mama's Cup on Thursday, Marcus said. I'll be there. He drove himself. No Sam, no Cadillac. An old gray Honda he kept specifically for mornings when he wanted to be no one. Zara was already there when he arrived, sitting in a corner booth in a yellow sundress she had clearly ironed with care. Her only nice outfit. She stood when she saw him, then seemed to wonder if she should have, then stayed standing. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I wasn't sure you'd be here, he said. They both smiled, sat down, and talked for 4 hours. Zara Obi had come to America from Enugu, Nigeria, on a work visa at 22, with $800 in a suitcase that was too small for everything she was carrying emotionally. Her parents had been killed in a road accident on the Lagos-Benin Expressway when she was 23. She had been here when it happened, working, sending money home, making plans, and she had not been able to get home in time. I didn't get to say goodbye to either of them, she said, holding her coffee with both hands. That part doesn't really get smaller. You just find ways to carry it. Marcus didn't say he understood. He just nodded. Sometimes silence is more honest than comfort. She told him about Toby, her brother, 16 now, brilliant, kind, the reason she had stayed in America and worked herself down to nothing. After their parents died, Toby had been sent to a relative in Lagos who treated him with cruelty that Zara described carefully and without melodrama, which somehow made it worse. She had spent 2 years and every spare dollar navigating immigration paperwork, lawyers, and appeals to bring him legally to Chicago. He's in high school now, she said. He wants to be a civil engineer. Can you imagine? A kid from Enugu, an engineer in Chicago. I can imagine, Marcus said. I was a kid from Gary, Indiana, who built a software company. She looked at him. What made you start it? Stubbornness. And a job that treated me like I was replaceable. I decided I'd rather fail on my own terms than succeed on someone else's. Is that what happened? I failed for 4 years. Then it worked. She asked about accounting. He asked why she had chosen it. She answered without hesitation. Because numbers don't lie. People can lie. Impressions can lie. But a balance sheet tells you exactly what's true. I want to build something one day that's honest all the way through, where the numbers are clean and the people are treated right. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Zara, he said, I have to tell you something. I didn't forget my wallet. She looked at him. Quiet. Then I know. I figured that out when you pulled out that phone. A man who forgets his wallet doesn't forget a phone like that. You're not angry? She thought about it genuinely. No. You were looking for something real. I understand that. My grandmother used to say, sometimes people test you because they've been broken. The only answer to a test like that is just to be yourself. Marcus looked down at his coffee. Your grandmother, he said. She sounds like someone worth knowing. She sold fish and market in Enugu for 40 years and never once gave wrong change. Zara smiled. She knew more about people than anyone with a degree. They both laughed, and something real began. While something quiet and honest was growing between Marcus and Zara, something loud and ugly was happening to Brenda Wells. The video had gone viral within 12 hours. Someone at Register 8 had captured everything on their phone. Brenda's performance, her phone call, her words, her face. Then the reveal. Then the applause. All of it, high definition, with perfect audio, uploaded to social media under the title, Rude Woman Humiliates Struggling Shopper. Doesn't know he's a billionaire. 22 million views in 72 hours. Brenda's name was found within the first hour. Comments filled every platform she was on. Her employer, a regional manager position at a national cosmetics retail chain where she had worked for 8 years, began receiving calls and emails almost immediately. She tried to respond, posted a video with tears and explanations. That's not who I am. I was having a terrible day. I have a good heart. I go to church every Sunday. I donate to. Nobody believed her. Because the store footage showed, with uncomfortable clarity, not a woman having a bad day, but a woman who had looked at another human being, tired, embarrassed in worn clothes, and decided he was beneath her notice, her time, her basic decency. Her employer called her in on Monday. Brenda, we've reviewed the situation. Given the public response and the impact on our brand, we're ending your contract effective immediately. 8 years, she said. I've given this company 8 years. And in 60 seconds in a grocery store, you showed the world who you are outside of work. We have a responsibility to our customers. This is not a fit anymore. She was escorted from the building. The lease on her BMW was called in 3 weeks later when payment stopped. Friends who had known her for years went quiet. The brunch crowd, the group chat, the women she had traveled to Miami with twice a year. They didn't disappear dramatically. They just stopped calling. Within 6 weeks of that Saturday afternoon, Brenda Wells had gone from regional manager to someone starting over. She applied to 32 jobs over 2 months. 12 of them called. Of those, for progress to interviews. Every interviewer had the same pause after Googling her name. That moment of recognition where the conversation subtly shifted. None of them called back. She stopped putting on the silk blouses. She started wearing sensible clothes. She learned to cook. She learned to take the train. She started waking up earlier, moving slower, spending more time with her thoughts than she ever had before. It was not comfortable. It was necessary. There's a particular kind of education that doesn't happen in classrooms. It happens in the space between who you thought you were and who you actually are when no one important is watching. Brenda Wells was enrolled. She would not realize until much later that the most valuable lesson had already been waiting for her at Register 7, in the form of a woman who had every reason to hold on to $20 and instead let it go. Marcus and Zara took things slowly. No grand gestures, no power moves, no flowers sent to the grocery store with a note from CEO. Just Thursday coffee, sometimes Tuesday evenings, long conversations over inexpensive meals at places Zara chose, which meant the food was always good and the atmosphere was always real. He drove the Honda. He left Sam at the office. He wore the same jacket with the small tear at the left elbow. And Zara was herself, working, studying, feeding Toby, carrying her load with the quiet competence of someone who has never had the option of falling apart. After 3 months, Marcus made 3 decisions. He did not announce them as grand gestures. He presented them the way his father had always delivered important things, plainly, directly, and without performance. The first, he paid for Zara's final 2 semesters of night school. "No," she said immediately. "I'm not a project. It's a loan," Marcus said. "You pay me back when you're a successful accountant. We write it up properly. Terms, interest rate, everything. If you can't pay it back, you cook me your grandmother's recipe and we call it even." She looked at him for a long time. 3.5% interest, she said. "Done." She accepted. The second, Marcus set up a scholarship in his foundation's name, attached to a partner university, full tuition, room, board, and a laptop for Toby. Any engineering program in the country he could get into. When Zara told Toby, he sat very still at their kitchen table for almost a full minute. Then he put his face in his hands and cried in the way teenage boys only cry when no performance is required. "Is it real?" he kept asking. "Sis, is it real?" "It's real, Toby. I'm going to be an engineer. You were always going to be an engineer. Now you have the road to get there." The third gift was the quietest. Marcus arranged for Zara to spend 4 hours every 2 weeks with the senior accountant at Cole Technologies. Not as an employee, not as a hire, but as a mentee, learning how a real company kept its books. Learning what financial statements could tell you about a business's character. Learning, as Zara put it, to read the soul of a company through its numbers. "You want to build something honest," Marcus had said. "Then understand the numbers at the level where honesty either holds or breaks. That knowledge belongs to you, not to your employer. Not to me." "Why are you doing all this?" she asked. He thought about it seriously before answering. "Because you gave me $23.47 that you couldn't afford and expected nothing back. I'm not paying you back. I'm paying forward what was already in you." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "My grandmother would have liked you." "I hope so," Marcus said, "because I think I would have liked her very much." Zara Obi graduated from her accounting program on a Thursday evening in April, top of her class. Marcus sat in the 3rd row. Sam was beside him. Toby was on the other side, dressed in a shirt he had clearly ironed 3 times, clapping until his palms were red. Afterward, Marcus took Zara to dinner. Not somewhere requiring reservations months in advance. Not somewhere with a sommelier and a dress code. Mama's Cup on 35th Street. Corner booth. Cheap coffee. "Why here?" Zara asked, looking around at the same little cafe where it had all started. "You could take me anywhere. This is where I first understood who you were," Marcus said. "This booth. This coffee. This is where I fell in love with you. I'm not going to dress that up with somewhere fancier." Zara's eyes glistened. "Zara, I'm not done." He reached into his jacket pocket. "I had a ring made. It's not flashy. It's not expensive. That's on purpose." He opened a small box. Inside, a simple gold band, thin and elegant, warm in the cafe light. He turned it so she could see the inside. Engraved in small, clean letters. $23.47. "That number changed my life," Marcus said. "Not because of what it cost. Because of the heart that gave it." Tears fell quietly down Zara's face. "Will you marry me?" Not Marcus Cole of Cole Technologies. Not the man on the news. Me. Marcus. The kid from Gary who took too long to figure out that the most valuable things in life are never in the places you think to look. She laughed through the tears, that genuine, full laugh he had fallen in love with somewhere around their 4th Thursday. "You didn't forget your wallet." "No." But you found something better. I found everything better. She took a breath. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. No photographer. No announcement. No audience. Just a man and a woman in a corner booth, over cheap coffee, finally telling the truth. 3 months before the wedding, Zara was working her last scheduled shift at Corner Fresh when a woman walked through the automatic doors and stopped. Different than before. Plain clothes. Tired eyes. A small basket. Rice. Beans. Bread. Basic things. Brenda Wells walked to register 7 and froze. Zara was behind the counter. Their eyes met. Brenda looked like she might turn and leave. Then she set her basket on the belt. Zara scanned quietly. Your total is $14.82. Brenda counted her cash carefully. She was $3 short. She started to put the bread back. Keep it. Zara reached in her apron pocket. The same pocket. Pulled out a $5 bill. Brenda stared at her. After everything I said to you. After how I treated you. After everything I did. What? Zara smiled. The same smile she had given Marcus on that first afternoon. Because you're hungry. You need food. I have money. It's not complicated. Brenda broke, right there at register 7. Head down. Shoulders shaking. Tears falling on the conveyor belt. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was everything wrong with the world. Zara reached across the counter and held her hand. We all have bad chapters, Brenda. But the story isn't finished until you say it is. Go write a better one. Brenda took her groceries and walked out into the afternoon. Straighter. Quieter. Changed. Marcus and Zara were married on a Sunday evening in June. Not at a hotel downtown. Not a vineyard or a rooftop with a skyline view. At Corner Fresh on South Michigan Avenue. They rented the store for the evening. The shelves were pushed back. Wooden chairs were set in rows between the checkout lanes. String lights were hung from the ceiling, looped between the old fluorescent fixtures, casting everything in warm gold. The bakery section produced the wedding cake, a simple 3-tier with white frosting and a small engraving along the bottom tier that nobody noticed except the people close enough to read it. $23.47. The guest list was 60 people. Store employees, regular customers who had been coming in for years, Toby, who gave a speech that made grown men clear their throats, Sam, Gerald, and the grandfather who had started the applause. Rose Cole, attended by video call from Gary, Indiana, dressed in her best church clothes, seated in her armchair. When Marcus saw her on the screen before the ceremony, she was already crying. Mama, why are you already crying? It hasn't even started. Because I dreamed about this, she said. The small place. The real nourishment. You finally stopped walking past, Marcus. You finally stopped. They said their vows at register 7. Marcus, take you, Zara. I don't promise you diamonds. I promise you rice and beans and patience and honesty. I promise to see you, not the image of you, but the actual you, every single day for the rest of my life. Zara, take you, Marcus. I promise to love the man from Gary who drove the old Honda. Not the CEO, not the headlines. I promise to always have $23.47 in my pocket, just in case. Laughter, then tears, then both at once. Rose Cole wept openly on the screen. Toby, standing as best man, bit his lip and failed completely to hold it together. Sam, whom Marcus had never seen show emotion in 12 years, turned slightly away and looked at the cereal aisle for a long moment. Brenda Wells was not at the wedding, but she watched the live stream from her apartment, sitting on her couch in the quiet she was still learning to sit with. She did not cry from sadness. She cried because she recognized for the first time what she had almost missed seeing and what she still had time to become. Zara launched OB Financial Services the following January. Her first client was a small family restaurant in South Chicago, a husband and wife who had been running their books on a notebook and a prayer. She organized their accounts, set up proper records, saved them from 3 costly tax errors, and charged them nothing for the first 6 months. You don't charge nothing to clients, Marcus told her. I do for the first ones, she said. They need to trust me before they can pay me. That's not charity. That's how you build something real. He looked at her the way he always looked at her, when she said something that made him understand the world slightly better than he had before. $23.47, he said softly. She smiled. $23.47. Toby Cole graduated with a degree in civil engineering 4 years later, first in his program. His thesis project, a low-cost bridge designed for use in developing communities, was accepted by 2 international organizations for implementation in West Africa and Southeast Asia. At the graduation, Zara sat between Marcus and Rose and held both their hands. Brenda Wells got a new job, entry-level, honest work, starting over completely. She never complained about a customer again. She trained new hires with patience and warmth that surprised everyone who had known her before. On her desk, she kept a small card with 6 words written in her own handwriting. Watch how you treat people who can't help you. And in a small cafe on 35th Street, on Thursday evenings when things were quiet, Marcus and Zara still came back to their corner booth, still ordered the cheap coffee, still sat long enough that the owner had to clear the table around them twice. He still drove the old Honda. She still wore the thin gold band with $23.47 engraved on the inside. And they were both, finally, exactly where they had always been trying to go. A river does not drink its own water. A tree does not eat its own fruit. The sun does not shine for itself. The richest person in the room is never the one with the most money. It is the one with the most heart. Remember that. The next time someone in front of you can't pay, don't judge. Help. You never know who's watching. And you never know what $23.47 might be worth. If this story moved you, subscribe, hit like, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. We post every week.